Okay, good morning. I'll wait till everybody turns their cell phones off, including myself. Thank you. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections. Can we hang that phone up, please? Thank you. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections. It's April 14th, 2022. It's 10 a.m. Once again, asking everybody to cut your cell phones off, including members of the board and staff. Can we have a motion to approve our agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The agenda is approved. We're going to move on to communications and public response. I've asked Ms. Robinson to just verbalize when there are 30 seconds left. So she's not going to turn around. She's not going to wave. You won't have to watch her to see, but she'll say 30 seconds and then she'll say time. When she says time, please end your sentence. Thank you. First speaker is Susan Brack.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Susan Brack. This is actually my first time to come down and see you all here this morning. I've come because I'm terribly concerned about our election processes and how everything is working. I live in Forsyth County, so I'm not a resident of Fulton County, but I consider Atlanta to be my city, where I live, so everything that happens here happens for the whole metro area, is how I look at it. I did work as a poll worker in Forsyth County for the 2020 election cycle, and I'm working again this cycle for the primaries. I found the process to be very good, actually. They're very responsive, they're very efficient. Signing up was not a problem, but I've heard through different people that signing up to be a poll worker in Fulton County is very, very difficult. And that shouldn't be the case. When you have people that want to be a poll worker, they care, they're concerned, they want to see that it's a smooth process, they should be given that opportunity. So I don't know why things in Fulton County aren't working as well as maybe Forsyth County, but if there's some improvement, it needs to be done. I'm terribly disappointed that we're still using Dominion. I think that, people have lost faith in their voting processes, and I think it needs to be restored. Personally, I'd love to see us go back to paper ballots. Paper ballots is the only way to really know that, hey, I voted, that's my vote, and it's being counted, because I think we've lost that in our election system. So that's all I have to say. Thank you all for serving.
Thank you.
I hope you take my comments to heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to point out that if you're concerned about the voting system, that would be addressed to the Secretary of State's office in the General Assembly, not this board. We use the system they tell us to use.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just for point of clarity, and I know this is the case in other avenues in Fulton County, but do we allow people from other counties to speak?
I'll ask our counsel to advise us on that.
There's no prohibition. We haven't declared that you have to be a citizen of Fulton County to speak a public comment.
Okay, thank you.
We haven't declared that. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, Sandra Burkhart.
My name is Sandra Burkhart, and I do live in Fulton County.
Pull that mic down just
You
a little
bet.
bit. It'll be more comfortable.
Okay, my name is Sandra Burkhart. I do live in Fulton County. I have made efforts to try to be involved in poll working. I have met multiple roadblocks, phone calls not returned, messages not taken. I applied online. I applied in person at Sandy Springs. And when I applied in Sandy Springs in person, they said, oh, well, the online thing really didn't mean anything. So I'm disappointed. And today I would like to tell you that I hope that you're all familiar with the organizational chart. You know, the diagram that lists positions within an organization. They list the title of the different descriptions and how their responsibilities are, what positions report to them, what their responsibilities are, how many people hold that position. You know, kind of a chain of command of the department or organization. In any organization, that information is not a mystery and readily available to people within the organization as well as the shareholders. We are Fulton County taxpayers, have been for years. Our money pays the salaries of all Fulton County employees. An organizational chart for the department that oversees our elections should not be hidden. We are entitled to see how the department is designed to operate. Some things are very wrong. How can we obtain a copy of an organizational chart? Is that available? Thank you.
Thank you. Susie Trotachard, and please forgive me if you would correct the pronunciation of your name. I'll appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Susie Trotachard. Hello there. My name is Susie Trotachard. I'm a resident of Fulton County. I was born in Atlanta. I've lived in Georgia my entire life. I want to first thank you for the work that you do. I know as a volunteer myself, appreciate what you're doing for the Fulton County voters and putting your efforts towards making this a better system for everyone. But I do want to make sure that you stay focused on the job that's ahead of you, focused on putting a new director in place, not listening to a lot of the noise in the background. And because of the changes to the new voter laws, I want to make sure that you support all election workers and what is needed in order to make this election run fairly and freely. And that includes making sure that all eligible voters are allowed to vote. And make sure you have as many polling places open as possible, as many fully staffed polling places, and that drop boxes are available, as many as possible. And with all of the new changes, that you clearly communicate these changes to the voters of Fulton County so that they know what the changes are, how they're going to affect them, so they don't think that they can vote the same way they voted last time, because there are a lot of changes. So clearly supporting the Fulton voters by making sure all this information is given to them in a timely manner, that when all of the polling locations are decided upon,
30
that
seconds.
is clearly communicated to the Fulton voters, and the new Dropbox requirements as well, that Fulton County voters are aware of all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Thank you all. We're going to move on to old business and approval of the minutes. We have a number of special called meetings minutes to deal with. Somebody want to make a motion? You can make a motion for all of them, for some of them.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we adopt and approve all of the special meetings as listed on the agenda for approval.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There are none. The minutes are approved. We'll begin now the monthly operations report, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Williams to guide us through that. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I will begin with the Elections Division Operations Support Report. For the Elections Division, staff is currently preparing for the May 3rd runoff election to be held in Sandy Springs. For supply and logistics, they are conducting inventory and getting ready to fully implement the WDS inventory system. In regards to recruitment and training, recruitment is going well. We are we are attempting to complete recruitment in the next few weeks, and training is currently being conducted for advanced voting and election day. I will now allow each division to give their own report, starting with admin.
Could we just pause for 1 second and see if anybody has questions about this section? Go ahead.
Ms. Williams, oops. As far as the workers, the poll workers go for election day, you are showing on the next page 230 in APO1 through RWO4 that you need clerks.
Those numbers have changed. The day this report was drafted, I believe it's from April 4th is the numbers that, where this reports are generated. I don't have the breakdown for that particular region, but the total count of needed clerks is at 255. Assistant clerks is 32 and poll managers is 11. So those numbers have drastically been improved since April 4th, from the date this report was drafted.
Right.
But I will provide that breakdown to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Other questions? Would you state really clearly for the public, if they would like to be a poll worker, how they would go about doing that?
Yes, all positions, whether it's in a poll worker or internally in our department, are posted online. Each position, if you go online, under each position, there is a link that will they'll bring you to the application, whether it's an incognito application or application that goes to one of the temp staff agencies that we utilize. So it's on the website, it gives the job description, and the actual link for each position for the application.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
I may need to save it, but I'll go ahead and ask now. And also, since we were addressing the poll worker question, for clarity, the clarity on the org chart. That was if I'm not mistaken, Patrick, didn't you do a presentation that included the org chart for the division about a month or two ago? Maybe it's 2 or 3. 3 months ago, when you talked about some of the positions that were needed, the org chart was it or was it not included in there?
I do not recall our organizational chart being in that position, but if it was 3 months ago, I can't recall today whether or not it was in there.
That's okay, but do we have an org chart?
Absolutely.
And is
yes,
it
sir.
available if a citizen were to ask the department through open records or a request made?
Absolutely, yes.
And the
sir.
reason why I'm
It has
asking,
been.
because I know that it was brought up this morning, but I coincidentally was asked about it yesterday twice. So I don't know what's going on with the org chart or if anybody's having issues getting it, but I'm just making sure that if somebody needed the org chart, that it was available to citizens of Fulton County.
Absolutely, sir. Readily available for an open records request. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Well, just a comment. So with the org chart, it could be posted on the website too. Could it not?
I'd have to refer back to legal if that's something that we want to post.
It's something that you could post. I think what also is a bit of misunderstanding is that it's not in one page. It's not one nice, neat package. The org chart I've seen is several different packages, like for different divisions. But the only thing about that is I think you have some positions that are vacant. And as positions change, it might not be up to date, but there's no problem with posting it.
I think this is a matter we probably should discuss further or have you consider, Ms. Williams. One of my concerns is making sure, we want to make it public, right? Who's who, what people are doing. On the other hand, we've had substantial security concerns for people, so we want to also be mindful of anything that we need to do to make sure that our staff feel secure in their positions. So I think we can strike a balance on that somehow, but in the
Yeah, it may not have to be extremely detailed, but at a high level, we could do that. But we can definitely put that on the agenda to discuss later, or.
Yeah. What I would ask is Ms. Williams get together with senior staff, law department, HR, and determine what's the appropriate protocol for Fulton County, not just the elections division, but Fulton County, countywide, because, it does change. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So there may be a balance we can strike between senior leadership and the number of positions, that kind of thing.
Okay. Will
Thank
do.
you for bringing that up, Madam Chair. We did have some threats that were received just a couple of days ago by
Okay.
your staff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm making notes because I forget it as soon as I say it. We'll move on to the registration division. Is that right?
Admin.
Admin. Okay.
Good morning, Board. In the area of administration, we've been working on filling the following vacancies. The registration manager position was posted. That posting closed at the beginning of this week, so we will be conducting interviews for that, hopefully within the next week. We also have 2 registration officer vacancy positions, which we'll be putting out for posting soon. The administrative manager will begin on April 27th, later this month. We also filled the vacancy for the administrative specialist. That candidate's first date is actually today. And the election system specialist, the interviews were conducted and offers was extended last week. For the month of March, qualifying was held within our office between March 7th through the 11th of March. The Board Commission Chair and the districts, 1, 3, and 5 were the only local county offices by party for the ballot this election year. The Republican candidates qualified in our office instead of with the Executive Committee's office, and in addition, the nonpartisan offices of Magistrate Judge, State Court Judge, and the Board of Education's District 2, 5, 6, and 7 qualified in our office. We had one candidate issue an affidavit of withdrawal from the Board of Education. District 7, sorry. We've continued to maintain and work on the budgets for the May election, as well as preparation for the November and possible December runoff elections budget. Last month, during the Board of Commissioners meeting on March 16th, the enterprise contract was approved, allowing for the election side to receive the needed vehicles for election operations as far as equipment delivery and other operations. We've also issued the following intergovernmental agreements with the following cities, the cities of Atlanta, East Point, Hateville, and South Fulton. And we have, at this point, received back from the city of East Point. We've followed up with the other cities and are awaiting those returns. And that concludes the administration report.
Thank you. Questions? I have a question, if it's okay. Ms. Ringer, when I first got here in October, we had a situation, I believe it was it was a candidate challenge, was it? That there was something relative to intergovernmental agreements that we needed to amend so that we didn't have responsibility for making a judgment call. Does anybody recall this? I know I'm not making it up because I've flagged it to make sure that when we do intergovernmental agreements that we get it right, but I'll let it pass. And just want to make sure that whatever agreements that we're doing with the cities has been, not just passing on agreements that we do every year, but that if there are responsibilities that need to fall on the city and not on us. I think maybe we recall this.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
My recollection is that we were discussing the possibility of putting into the IGAs with the cities that not only would the city clerk do the qualifications for municipal offices, but if a challenge to those qualifications came up, they would conduct that challenge as well. So if that is something that we need to do, it has not been done, but we can definitely put that into the IGA. So because I think something came up where it wasn't clear who was to conduct the challenge hearing, if it was this body or if it was if it lay with the municipality. So.
Yes, I believe that was the situation. We're clearly underway with these, so we'd probably have to deal with things going forward. Do we do these IGAs like election by election? So like for the general, we might have a different one?
I believe that there are some that are laid out that they are in place until the end of the calendar year. But I think it is a practice that pretty much we do them per election.
Okay.
So
may I ask?
For the election and then a runoff if necessary.
Okay, can I ask, and Ms. Robinson, if you would bring some of these requests sort of back to us, because it's hard for me to remember as I'm presiding. Can I ask that y'all work with the staff and bring us a recommendation on whether we need to change those. I mean, and if we need to take an action, if it's an action you need to take and you don't need us, then I would suggest that you just review and clarify. And please, I'll ask for comments to my comments, so if you disagree, let me know. And if not, let us know what decision-making we need to make if it's, if we need to take a specific action.
Certainly, we can do that.
Okay, does that seem right to my colleagues here, Mr. Johnson?
The only question I would have is, would it be the qualifying entity or a municipality? Because cities aren't the only ones that qualify candidates. So then, if it's a situation where, like with municipal elections, obviously, generally the cities do the actual qualifying for the elections. But then countywide, statewide, et cetera, it varies as to who does it. Because even this year, on the county level, one entity did one party and another entity did the other party. So then we would just need to answer that question as well.
We can certainly take a look at that and see how the actual IGAs are worded and written right now.
Thank you. One thing I just want to make note about the budget, I think everybody on this board is aware of it, but I just want to reassert this for the general public. The elections approved budget covers the primary runoff, and the general. Right now, we don't have an allocation for the general runoff. Obviously, we will, but it will come as it comes. And it's, probably be a gap in the realm of 10 to 12, $13 million, which coincidentally is roughly the amount of money we received as a grant from outside sources to make up the gap last time. So I just, when we get to that point this time in the fall, we'll have this discussion, I'm sure, because I can't imagine Georgia without a runoff at some level. But I just want to make sure that we're keeping people following the story here. Okay, next. I'm sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Eskridge, can you talk a little bit about the enterprise leasing that was approved by the BOC and what those monies will be allocated for and how they'll be used?
Gotcha. So, again, we enter in a contract with Enterprise to basically to fill the needs for transportation, again, surrounded primarily for election delivery equipment, election equipment delivery, as well as just day-to-day operations of delivering different supplies from the warehouse to downtown to polling places. So all those transportation needs are fulfilled through that enterprise contract.
Okay, and then for the passenger vehicles, will those be used for?
Those are also used to deliver equipment.
For equipment delivery and the
like
cargo
tables and
vans?
chairs,
Okay,
things of that nature.
great, thank you so much.
Sure.
Mr. Estridge, how much more are we spending on this contract this year with the costs and the availability of the vehicles?
And let me also, this is I think it's a not to exceed amount. And so it's, what was approved for this year was 300,000, not to exceed. So I believe it was around that same amount last year, if I'm not mistaken. We would have to go back to the books and we can provide that information later, but it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was around the same amount last year.
So that just wouldn't be reflected until the bill comes in.
Thank you.
And I just want to just also continue to clarify process, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but if somebody had asked this question previously, when we come and we say the Board of Commissioners approved 300,000, that is money that is budgeted, but they're approving the expenditure. So it's not new money added to the budget, it's what is already in the budget. But we go back for approval of the expenditures, contract by contract by contract. Thank you. Anything else? on this one. Thank you. Next.
Registration.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the registration division, so far this year, we have received 25,399 voter registration applications. As of March the 31st, 2022, there were 840,532 registered voters, with 736,764 being active and 103,768 being inactive. In the month of March, we received 12,381 VR applications to be processed. We have about 2,500 outstanding applications that need to be processed in order to meet the April 25th voter registration deadline, so we are working diligently on those. We are currently preparing for the upcoming May election, so constantly attending trainings and hosting training sessions for our call center representatives that will be taking the expected phone calls for voters for the upcoming election. We have completed redistricting and ordered the precinct cards that will be going out to the voters, inclusive of new district information and polling location updates. We are currently processing applications, reviewing duplicate records, and daily working on street maintenance processes so that we can just make sure everyone is assigned to the correct locations and all of the streets have been maintained in Fulton. And that will conclude the monthly operations report for the registration division.
Thank you. You know we're going to have some questions, so thank you. So, it looks like you have something.
I just would like to ask, we are down, what, 7,000, 6,000 in February from 2018, and what, 8,000, about 8,000 down from in March. And is there a reason? Can you surmise a reason for that?
It just depends, excuse me. A lot of people are just moving around within the county. That's what we've seen. So we have processed close to 20,000 address changes that actually were a part of the list maintenance for the national change of address that we received back in February. So a lot of people are currently just moving around in the county, but we have seen an increase in DDS applications. So some people are new to Fulton and new to the state. So my expectation is, in speaking with my colleagues, the voter registration applications will increase because there are a lot of new homes and new subdivisions being built around the county. So the applications will go back up, but the slight decrease was maybe in, I think that it was due to like COVID. Not a lot of homes were being built and not a lot of people were moving around. You were kind of stable, but now the housing market, like people are making changes. So we have received, right now we currently have about 3,000 DDS applications.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Marshall, help clarify something for me. I don't think I've asked this before. Under the total number of changes to Fulton County, on that particular page, you have as the last line item, duplicate merges. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, sir. So the Secretary of State's office, we have a dashboard in eNet in which they place duplicate records on there. So they kind of do like a QC of the data entry for us. So if those applications in which data entry clerks create duplicates, they appear on the dashboards, the ones that they are able to catch, and we process those. So in the month of March, we merged and got rid of 2,205 duplicate records. So all of those revisions were made.
So those are totally removed from our registration database?
So it's not like a removal, per se. It's more like, well, we can call it a removal. What happens is you'll have two of the same person, so you put it into one so that now they're only one person. So they were not technically removed, they are no longer duplicated.
Right. But it reduced then by 2,205 the number of voters that we actually had in the database.
Yes,
Is
sir,
a
that
true
is
statement?
correct, yes.
Contrasting that, under the next side, you have total number of removals of Fulton County. And in that, there is a third line item called duplication, and there it reads 10. So just for edification standpoint, could that or should that be merged to where that is then a total number that have actually been removed from our registration list?
So I can do that, Mr. Wingate. This duplication number actually comes from an ENET report that I'm able to pull. So from my understanding, I assume that so with data entry clerks processing applications, I believe that we created 10 duplicate records. So
this, then, if, I'm sorry to interrupt you, so then these are duplications that staff for Fulton County has found? And
yes,
that are
and
not
then we
part
went
of
back.
what you get on the SOS dashboard?
Yes, sir. And then we went back and removed or merged the records, but that's a different report. So it catches what we catch and then correct or merge, and then there's another one that appears in the dashboard that the SOS catch, and then we need to merge.
Okay, so there's two processes there that you're working, is what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir, that is
Okay.
correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
One thing that I would suggest is, on the report, maybe you can say SOS duplicate merges, and then for the second, duplication, ENET duplication, and that way we'll understand the difference
Yes,
between.
ma'am.
My other,
Could I follow up on just that one
Oh,
thing?
okay.
Excuse me. I was just thinking, what if you said, and maybe I'm not right about this, what if you said something like total number of removals by Fulton County instead of Fulton County, and total number of changes to Fulton County by DDS, SOS, or something?
So I do like that because it's more so of a buy for the bottom category.
Yeah.
So with all of the recommendations made today, the report will reflect next month. So the bottom part, you are correct in that. The bottom part is removals that we personally go in and make as data transcribers. The top is inclusive of a report that I can run through the registrar system. So I can break
I
that down.
apologize, I just wanted to ride
You know,
your
you
tail.
could very simply just put, without making a lot of change, is put SOS duplicate merges.
Noted.
That'd be pretty simple.
Yes, sir.
and then my next question is about the redistricting update. So I've gotten a few calls around people not knowing their new polling location or feeling like they have the wrong polling location, and you and I had spoken about that. And so can you just, for the public, let us know when those postcards will go out?
Yes, so in speaking with SOS, Thomas and I have been working closely with them. We have ordered the precinct cards. They said they have been taking about up to 2 weeks, but she's gonna give us an update today to let us know if ours will be ready sooner than before 2 weeks. So they have been ordered. Once they come in, we're gonna do like a QC of the cards to ensure accuracy and make sure everything is correct before we put them in the mail to the voters. So Ms. Williams has requested that, and as soon as we receive them, we can provide you all with an update once we start QCing.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
May I also add that the Communications Department has added a landing page on the website that gives redistricting information. It also leads to the GIS maps if voters want to look at where their districts are. But that is on the website.
Let me just say a couple things, because I think sometimes with Fulton County, because we're so big, we sort of, we notice stuff a lot faster sometimes than other places do. I want to comment about a couple things, and please, staff, correct me always if I'm not giving the appropriate or correct information. Going back to the historic overview of registration applications from DDS, there is indeed something happening there that, is being looked into that might relate more to the process of what people are encountering when they go to DDS, whether they're able to either opt out of registration, as was previously, or whether they opt into registration. So what we saw last year, and what caused me concern back in October when I first got here, was about a 5-year history of pretty consistent numbers, month by month by month, that then had a sudden drop in January of last year that continued to be a consistent number every single month of the entire year. And since discussion has been going on about it, we're starting to see an increase back. We don't know exactly what the problem is, but it is of concern because of the, when you have a years-long, month-to-month consistency, and then you have a dramatic fluctuation, I'm not sure we can attribute it all to COVID, although perhaps we can, but it was remarkable that it lasted exactly 12 months.
And I will like to add that the historical overview that you all see is for registration applications, period. So it's inclusive of paper, DDS, and online, not just the Department of Driver Services.
Okay, great, thank you. That's helpful.
One quick question. Excuse me. Since we're talking about the redistricting and the information, Ms. Williams, you responded to commissioners yesterday regarding the My Voter page. So we're still getting questions. Can you repeat today some of the things you mentioned about that and what's going on with the My Voter page?
Yes, the My Voter page, again, belongs to the Secretary of State. It's completely under their control. We have advised the SOS that there are some items missing on there because we did receive phone calls from voters. The SOS is diligently trying to figure out what the problem is and working on it. But again, if anybody sees any missing information on the SOS My Voter page, they can call their county to get that information or go ahead and call the SOS. But you can call the county, call your county to get your voter information.
Questions? Ms. Marshall, I want to thank you and your staff. I know that for the past at least month, you've been working 7 days a week, more hours than I probably know, to try to figure out what the problem has been, because we've been fielding lots of complaints about people not finding the correct information on My Voter page. And again, because we're so big, we often find problems before smaller jurisdictions do because of the sheer volume of what we deal with. And just to give kudos to our team, it took some time and some doing to understand that the problem was a technical one, not of our origin, that it had to do with partially a new system that the Secretary of State's office was implementing right in the midst of redistricting, which made it even more complicated, and continues to make it complicated as people want their precinct cards and they want to see things finalized. Be clear that those delays are not due to our team. Those delays are due to the attempt to change to a brand new comprehensive software program that is now delayed until after the primary. As a result of our team identifying the problem and working very closely with the Secretary of State's office and cooperatively to try to figure out what we were doing wrong, only to discover it wasn't us. And that also has delayed the registration card delivery to the counties. And I'm seeing this from other county election board members who are also not receiving them, or sometimes receiving them with incorrect information because their information is coming from the new system that had the problem. So I just want to clarify that, not trying to point fingers, but again, oftentimes people think that it's because our team isn't working hard enough or getting it done or whatever else anybody's attributing it to. And I just sincerely want to thank you. I know how hard you've been working. I know how hard you're going to work all year. And, you know, we're working with the Secretary of State's office to try to do our part, but the delays now in the delivery of the precinct cards, which is happening statewide, not just in Fulton County, maybe not in every county, but statewide, is not of our doing. So thank you for that. Anything else on that topic? Thank you. Next.
Okay, voter education.
Good morning, board members. For the month of March, we've done the following activities. I've trained 73 new deputy registers. We registered 348 voters. We've recruited 200 poll workers. We are now actually doing voter identification cards as well through the mobile education unit, and so we did 9 of those this month. We've had 36 events and have been making over 500 connections with organizations and residents and community throughout the county to make sure we're planning future events. We had 4 media inquiries this month. We've hosted poll worker recruitment fairs for every city in North Fulton County as of yesterday. Johns Creek was our last one. We're now working to make sure we get some try to get some in the next week or so in South Fulton for those precincts that are in need of poll workers and poll managers. We worked with the Fulton County delegation and hosted a successful voter education and outreach day at the Capitol, and that was covered by all the news stations, so that was some great positive coverage for our department, and as well as the FGTV team. We began planning events this past month with Fulton County schools, and so we went to most of the majority of the high schools in North and South Fulton, and we are now working with Atlanta Public Schools, and so during the month of May, we'll also be going to do an event with all of the high schools in Atlanta to make sure we're registering the high school students. So we'll continue to do that as the month progresses prior to the primary. I work with the IT manager, and I'm happy to report that now both buses are operating, and we're out weekly with our mobile voter education unit. And we're actually now printing, as I said earlier, printing the voter identification card as an additional resource, as well as now as we've been doing a lot of events recently with senior centers, taking the suggestions from Dr. Roof, making sure that we are reaching out to those senior communities. And so we're also helping with absentee applications and making sure we are able to make copies on the spot for those seniors that need it and who don't have that resource to make their copies. We're going to continue working with municipalities across Fulton County to ensure we're doing events, as the municipalities are now planning music concerts and festivals, farmers markets. And so we're working with the mayors to make sure we'll have the mobile unit at those events as they request them. We just worked with External Affairs and updated all of our collateral. And so today and tomorrow, I'll make sure I'm sending out to all of the Fulton County libraries all of our updated electronic flyers so they can have that information to print out. And we're actually partnering with the libraries prior to early voting to make sure we have been doing voter registration drives at the various libraries to make sure that they have that information. And we're going to continue, as possible, making sure that we're reaching out to communities, nonprofit organizations, elected officials, anyone that would like to make sure that we're hosting nonpartisan education events throughout the county to ensure that everyone knows and has no uneasiness as it relates to them being able to vote and how to use the machines and knowing what they need to do for the primary. You can see the list of our events for the month of March, and they continue to grow. And so you'll see next month, it will be many, many more as we've been getting more calls to come out and do events. And so that concludes the March report for voter education and outreach.
Y'all have indeed been busy. Thank you for your hard work on this. I saw you at the Capitol one day. I was walking over here, and I saw y'all out in the little street closure area. So thank you for doing that. Other questions or comments?
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you're doing, and you are in and out and about in Fulton County, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just, I've heard great things about the event that was in Sandy Springs, so thank you so much for the wonderful job and just the outreach. I mean, you really are using some creative avenues to reach voters, potential voters. So thank you again.
You're very welcome.
So I appreciate it. I'm still hurt we can't use our mobile voting units for elections, but at least we're doing something constructive and positive. So hopefully that doesn't change anytime after the next state legislature meets. But just for clarity, and I want to always, I tell everybody everything we're doing as much as I can. So we're able to do the voter ID cards on the mobile voting units.
Yes.
And we're also going to senior centers and different facilities. Is it both Fulton County and other senior centers, or just Fulton County?
Just Fulton County.
So just Fulton
Just Fulton
County
County.
seniors, so the multi-purpose centers, et cetera. So if seniors were to go there and they needed help with getting their absentee ballot, registering, things of that nature, do y'all have a schedule of when you go or you reach out to them?
So we have a schedule online. So we work with the external affairs team to make sure that our schedule for where we are at any given moment is posted on the website. We are working to get that in a better location because some residents have said they couldn't find it through our website, but we're working on that. But we are actually also outreaching. We've reached out to at least all of the Fulton County maintained senior centers. We actually reached out to them to set things up. And then we've had other senior living centers that have reached out. So like today, we're at 2 different senior centers right now that we're helping with doing voter identification cards because they've reached out to our office to come and help them assist with getting identification as well as the absentee applications in.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is Johns Creek not responsive, or have you engaged any discussion with them about holding anything in that general area?
Yes, I was there last night. We just did a poll worker recruitment fair, and we were there yesterday morning with the Chamber of Commerce.
Over your March report, I was just curious because I didn't see anything up for them, and they're usually pretty vocal.
Yes, so
okay, great.
you will see them in April.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on, thank you.
Absentee.
Good morning, Board. In the month of March, we finalized the special election. We began processing absentee ballots March 7th, and we engaged in weekly meetings with SOS regarding Jarvis. We engaged in weekly meetings with the executive team. And the updated statistics are 2,288, received, accepted, 1,959, rejected, 205, duplications, 72, blanks, 52. And that is all I have.
The unprocessed due to Jarvis?
So what, in speaking with Mrs. Britton, the absentee supervisor, what we realized was that 1/3 of those were front and back pages. So the actual count was 431 and they were processed.
Okay. And what is the problem with the Jarvis? Because they've now switched back to,
At this time, we were unable to use it from March 25th to like April 5th.
oh, I see, because
Yes.
it was halted for the
Correct.
conversion and then, okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, other questions? I have a question. So when people apply for an absentee ballot for people who are seniors, older, I think it's over 65, people with disabilities, could you please tell me what their application process is to vote absentee? They don't apply now once and get ballots for the whole year, or correct me, because I'm not sure I'm
They do.
clear.
They do, and it's during a primary election. So they'll get a ballot all year.
So if they,
As long as they check elderly or disabled, they'll receive a ballot.
so they'll
for
get the
remainder of the
primary
year.
runoff, general
Correct.
runoff without a problem?
Yes,
And everybody else?
they're required to apply every single election.
So a primary
Yes.
application,
Well, yes,
primary runoff separately,
yes,
general and general?
Yes, ma'am.
General runoff, in that short period of time, people have got to apply and then get it returned? I think that's correct. I just want to be clear, because I think people will not know that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Can you talk about the reasons for the 187 rejected applications?
It's now 205, and the majority of those were prior to us processing applications March 7th.
Okay, so they were
Too
sent-
early.
or they were too early.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they were notified that they were
Yes, ma'am, within 2 days.
within 2 days. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Maybe I should know the answer to this question, but if a person applies too early, we couldn't just hold it until the day of?
No, sir.
So in the law, it expressly states that if you apply too early, then that application is
78
null
days.
and void.
Yes, sir.
And the person has to then come back. So if a person, and I'm just using a date, April 1st is the day that you start accepting absentee applications. If a person were to apply on March the 30th, they will find out about April 3rd, that their application has been rejected and they have to reapply for the ballot.
We've been contacting the electors via phone call or email, just letting them know, hey, it's too early. Can you resend this on April 1st? If that was the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not directing this to the department at all, but I'm just thinking out loud and expressing some of the frustrations with some of the new legislation that I don't know if it's in a rush or that I don't believe is being thought about properly. But it would seem to me that if somebody were applying for an absentee ballot and they mailed it in and it came, I can understand saying that it can't be processed to a particular day. However, and this is not for you, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud, but it seemed as though we would be able to hold it and then process it on that day. But I'll let it go for today.
Thank you.
And just a curiosity kind of question. So of the absentee applications that we've received, have all of them been able to provide a driver's license and ID?
No.
Okay, and can you do you know like what percentage that are using other government?
I do not.
Okay.
Now, what we have done is we can put an election in when there's missing ID or that the ID information is incorrect, but I can't say what form of ID that they're using.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions? So, go ahead.
I do now. That made me think of something. This will be more for the voter education team and absentee team. When you work with seniors and their ID, are they having issues that we're helping them more than normal to get their application or registration or any other information because of the additional ID with the absentee?
So we are getting requests from the directors that are specifically asking us to come and do the voter identification because some of the seniors don't have ID to include with the absentee application. So we have been getting a lot more requests, which is why I think we implemented us being able to do voter identification cards as a part of the mobile unit. So we have been getting a lot more requests from seniors.
And when you're helping with the absentee ballot application, are they looking to you more to help, or are they saying, here, I can do it if you have the equipment, or they're saying, I don't know how to use the equipment, even if I had it?
It would be a mixture. We have some that we physically have to help fill out the whole application, and then there are others that are able to do it. I think it depends on age, disability, and different issues that may be occurring with the seniors.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So just again, for the general public, you can apply now for your absentee ballot for the May general primary election. So if anybody wants to vote absentee, they can make that application now. But the earliest day that our staff can mail you that ballot is April 25th. So if you mailed it in early March and you're just tapping your toe, waiting to get it back, please be patient. Again, we are guided by state law as to when we can return those. And so it'll be a minute. It'll probably be early May by the time it arrives through the postal service and stuff like that. Is that correct?
I think last year, the average was anywhere from 5 to 7 days they would receive it. So May 1st, I think, would be a good date.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to just keep reminding people of deadlines, I hope, during these meetings. I just want to, some people watch us. I want to just make sure people are really aware of the changes that have been made so that nobody thinks that we're still running things the same way that we were. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. I know it's only going to pick up in the next couple of months, so thank you.
If I can just make a comment.
Yeah.
So if we're sending the absentee ballots back out and they're going to get them May 1st, say May 1st, they have to turn those around and get them in by the 3rd.
The 3rd? No, May 24th on Election Day.
Oh, I got the dates wrong. Sorry.
So you need to
But still.
receive them by
7 p.m. on Election
7
Day.
p.m. on Election Day.
And the last day for the drop box is May 20th? May 20th. I'm looking at you.
Yep, that would be the Friday
Yes, the
before.
Friday for the drop boxes.
And I know somebody mentioned drop boxes. We, again, are limited by law as to how many we can have and where they can be. And we have placed the maximum number. It is spread out as we can throughout the county.
Yes, inside the early voting locations.
And
there's a mailer that's going to go out to each household regarding that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Williams, I think, had a comment.
Oh, no, I was going to say all the absentee drop locations are also on the website.
Thank you.
And just real quick, what's the last day that you can submit an application for absentee ballot? I know it's the Friday before.
May 13th.
13th,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
So for absentee ballots, people are going to be getting them, that request them, they'll be getting them around May 1st. They should probably look at 20 days to get them filled out and in the mail.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Here we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Advanced voting.
Hi, good morning, board.
Morning.
A quick review for you. Of course, we're in preparation for our special runoff election. It's going to be held at Sandy Springs Library. And those days, we have 1 week, April 25th to April 29, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'll give you a report and an updated report of how advanced voting training has been. Of course, we're trying to stay focused and stay within our schedule, trying to move along to get everyone trained before that big day, May 2nd, first day of advanced voting. Of course, you heard that on April 5th at 11 a.m., we did have that county call from the state postponing Jarvis in the midst of our training until the end of the runoff election. So at that time, we had trained at least up to 90 to 100 EV poll workers. So we now are in the process of having the poll workers return back for training on ElectionNet. So I definitely have to return the compliance officers, the compliance managers, and we have some clerks. They were trained earlier before that announcement was made. Dover Temp has been notified to continue recruiting. Make sure that we have at least 50 reserve on standby just in case. Told them that it's very important that we get back up to the backup just in case. We have training today. If I include today's date, we have at least 15 more days of training left before that big day. We won't know exactly what the needs are until training. So after the training date, I recoup with Dover Temp to make sure that everyone who's supposed to be in training shows up. At that time, I would know exactly how many reserve I would need. So we're gonna continue reserving, encourage everyone who wants to work advanced voting, go online and apply. We're gonna just continue recruiting until we're ready. The week of April 26th, that will be the setup and delivery week, where each staff will go to the site to make sure that they're ready, clock in, deliveries. Our mandatory date that we included for this, for everyone, is on May 1st. It's mandatory that all staff return to their assigned location to do a pre-test, try to log on to the system. Any issues they may have with their passwords, we're gonna make sure that we have IT on standby. I'm gonna ask IT for assistance, just to stand by to make sure that staff can log in, get ready for that day. Anything that extra equipment they may need, all hands on deck. So even though we had to recoup, bring them back, we're gonna stay focused, do what we have to do and make sure that we're ready for May 2nd. I have gotten support from the HR team. They've been there, making sure that we have the extra training space. I got support from emergency management, from the IT department, and definitely from the county manager office. So that's bits of my report. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a quick question. How many people are not showing up to the trainings that are signed up? Are you having any problem? Are you having difficulties with people coming for the trainings?
The only issues I've been getting is emergencies. Livelihood, they can't come, they're ill. I can ask Dora for a percentage, and I could get back to you and let you know that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Benjamin, for your report. So with the training, there is a hybrid approach, right? There's the e-learning. Is there still the e-learning component and then the face-to-face? Is that correct? Or no?
Advanced voting is in person.
All advanced voting is in person. Thank you.
Yes.
And so for election day, it says that you have 242 recruited in that first table on page 2 of the monthly report. And how many, so you said you're going to recruit, that's for the managers. What's your number as far as over recruitment is concerned?
Is this advanced voting or election day?
For both, so for election day, what's the number that you're trying to reach, you're over recruiting?
For election day, the county manager strategy team is assisting us in getting reserves of county employees. That will be our reserves. So we're gonna meet our totals for what we actually need for every polling site for election day. And we also have a select group of reserves that will come in and work if need be. But the totals that are on the report were as of April 4th, so those numbers have decreased greatly. But just to answer your other question, there is, election day is also in person. There is no online training for election day at this time.
Okay, thank you. But what's the number? So how many reserves are you trying to?
We are looking,
is your goal?
I want to say it's, I apologize for not having it in front of me. I believe it's 150 for, it's roughly 200, if not more.
For reserves?
For reserves, yes.
Okay, great. And then do you feel confident that you'll be able to get those reserves in place and trained?
Yes, all that is being planned out. There will be a week of training for those individuals to make sure they're ready to go if they're needed. But yes, they're county employees, so we'll definitely have them in place.
And then for advanced voting, what's your strategy as far as your reserves there?
50 or more. I'm
Okay.
gonna try to take it to the max. Because basically we have about 250 on staff. So we're gonna make sure that the overtime knows that to have 50 or more reserved, just in case of emergencies.
Great, thank you. And I know that, it's what happened with Jarvis, that shift in moving really impacted your ability to train people, and now having to go back and have these 90 to 100 people come back in to be retrained on eNet is, that's a really critical setback, to have happened in preparation for May. So thank you for being agile around that and being able to bounce back and redo the training. I'm sure that that cost a lot of time as well.
Yeah, it costs a lot of time, and that's thanking the staff for returning for the training. And we also added like a close-knit training for newbies who asked to be retrained because they was also training Jarvis. So some staff say, okay, give me a one-on-one, give me a smalling setting, and that's what I'm using the HR department for. So they've been very supportive with that.
Great. Thank you. I think that's all I have right now.
Okay, so to be clear, advanced voting and election day poll workers all have to be in-person trained.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions over here? And just again, for people who are watching that might be poll workers or wanting to help in some other way, please, please, please sign up for your training and do your training. That has to happen before we get there so that we can count on you. And so thank you for that, and thank you for mentioning this issue once again with the implementation of the Jarvis software program. Our team was on it. Our team was doing the things to meet the deadlines, and because we have such volume, when there's a reversal, it is significant. If you're a county with 10,000 registered voters, this might only impact 2 or 3 people. And thank you so much to the poll workers who now have to come back and get retrained, because that is additional time from their families, commuting, all the other things. Really appreciate that. Also want to make note that we have implemented changes to the staffing agencies that we're using. I think we have 4 staffing agencies recruiting for us for the first time. There was feedback relative to that. You and the county staff have turned on a dime to that. It comes at significant additional cost to use these, go out and bid in this time frame where people are looking for folks and having to get new contracts executed versus long-term contracts. So again, when you see increases in our budget, these are the kinds of things that impact our budget when we have to make changes quickly or to establish vendors. So thank you for working with that, and I'm glad we have the time during the primary to kind of see how people are going to perform under this, because then at the general, obviously, it will be magnitudes larger. So thank you.
Well, that concludes our operations report.
Okay. Everybody good? Thank you. Okay, we got some new business. Approve advanced voting location for House District 45 runoff election.
Yes, we're proposing to utilize the Sandy Springs Library for advanced voting for the House District 45 special runoff election. The dates will actually be from Saturday, April 23rd through Friday, April 29th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the absentee drop box will be also included at the Sandy Springs Library location.
If y'all wouldn't mind taking the conversation outside, appreciate it. Thank you. It's hard to pay attention. Okay, go ahead.
We're seeking board approval for the Sandy Springs Library location for the May 3rd House District 45 special election.
Okay. Is there a motion? Well, any questions relative to that? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we allow the department to use Sandy Springs Library for the special election.
Second.
In House District 45, thank you. Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there are none. Motion passes. Next. Is there something I need to sign relative to that, or is that all you need?
That's all I need.
Okay. Next item.
We have I believe the IGA item for the city of East Point for the special May 24th election. They do have a question on the ballot, and there's an IGA agreement that has to have, they receive approval.
Questions? Comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
A motion to approve, motion to approve the East Point agreement.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The motion passes. Well, we've certainly discussed Jarvis quite a lot, but please give us the update.
Ms. Marshall will provide a Jarvis update.
On April 5th, the Secretary of State's office hosted a statewide call or webinar just stating that we will utilize eNet to take us through the May primary election. So it's expected that we will transition to Jarvis as early as June.
So you'll be doing the runoff preparation about the same time that you're doing that. Will there be any impact on what you need to be doing at that time?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
The reason why I say no, it's because the VR deadline is the same for the runoff. So most of the registrar duties will have been concluded in eNet. So Jarvis, we will be able to transition over and along with the support of the Secretary of State's office.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, any questions? Thank you, appreciate that. Next one, legislative update. Good morning.
Good morning, board members. My name is Jasmine Campbell, and I am the legislative assistant for Fulton County. The 2022 legislative session adjourned sine die on Monday, April 4th. Although there were several elections bills introduced this year, only one received final passage on sine die. I'll discuss that bill and a few others that were still alive on the last day of the session. The bill that passed was Senate Bill 441, the Criminal Records Responsibility Act. The majority of the bill addresses the requirements of the Criminal Case Data Exchange Board, which is an advisory board to the Council of Superior Court Clerks of Georgia, as well as data policy updates for the Georgia Crime Information Center. The part that relates to elections was added on sine die, and that was highlighted in the bill that I sent you guys, sections 10 and 11. And it provides original jurisdiction to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to identify and investigate election-related claims if there is sufficient evidence to change or place in doubt the result of the election. In an elections-related investigation with the consent of the Attorney General, the GBI Director, the Assistant Director, and the Deputy Director of Investigations are authorized to issue a subpoena to compel the production of papers, documents, or other tangible items. The fiscal year 2023 state budget includes almost $580,000 for 4 full-time GBI positions and operating expenses to investigate elections complaints. The first omnibus elections bill was House Bill 1464. After testimony from the public, including election officials such as Chairman Woolard, thank you so much for going to the Capitol and testifying, the Senate Ethics Committee passed a substitute to the bill, which only required employers to allow up to 2 hours for employees to take off work to vote either on one of the early voting election days or on election day. The bill did not pass out of the Senate Rules Committee, so it never reached the Senate floor and never had a vote in the Senate. On sine die, the House passed the second omnibus elections bill, and that included several sections of the original House Bill 1464. Senate Bill 89 allowed the State Election Board to appoint members to county performance review boards, provided chain of custody requirements and storage guidelines for certain election materials, allowed paper ballot inspections by the public, and it also provided the Georgia Bureau of Investigation original jurisdiction and subpoena power to investigate election fraud claims. Using a procedural rule during the very last hour of the session, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan did not allow a vote to be taken on the bill, and it died. Lastly, House Bill 934 did receive final passage this session as well. The bill does not impact Fulton County at this time because it's not retroactive. However, it does allow future single county transportation special purpose local option sales tax, or TSPLOS, to be collected for the full amount of time, which is 5 years. Counties are restricted to only calling for a single county TSPLOS referendum on November election dates in odd number years, and they're also required to enter intergovernmental agreements with cities to ensure that all proceeds are only spent on transportation purposes. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question on the GBI. Are they going to be associated with the State Bureau? I mean, the State Elections Board? Will they be working for them, or will they be on their own?
They'll be on their own. So previously, the state elections board could reach out to GBI to get them to help. This gives the GBI the original jurisdiction, so they can do this with the consent of the Attorney General. They'll be able to work on the cases by themselves, and they'll also have at least 4 full-time positions during the next fiscal year with people dedicated to this.
Okay, thank you so much.
Was there clarity as to what could trigger it? Like, is there a listing or is it broad?
I need to look at the bill and I can tell you the line numbers, but you have to provide the sufficient evidence, so that's gonna be up to the investigators. So it's basically gonna be the general election fraud claims and complaints. They'll be able to decide whether or not the evidence was provided to place in doubt the election results.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a bar there.
Just hope they use it.
Mr. Wingate?
Was there any clarity in terms of investigation responsibility between the GBI and the SOS?
Well, the SOS will still have their investigative powers, and they can still do that. This just also gives the GBI the original jurisdiction to do this with the consent of the Attorney General, so they won't have to be asked by the SOS to do investigations. They'll be able to do them by themselves. So the SOS will still also be doing investigations.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just curious as to whether or not there was any thought given in terms of the division between the two agencies as to what investigations lie within their responsibility.
I don't have the answer to that, so I can look it up.
I've
and
looked at
follow
some
back
of this,
with
and
you.
I can't really make a determination where that line, if there was a line or there is a line, was drawn. So it didn't, since you're spending a lot of time with this, it didn't come across that there was a clear path in terms of responsibility.
I don't have the exact answer right now. We can find
fair.
it.
No, that's fair.
And I
No,
do think
just
it may
curious.
just take time for the GBI to get these positions in their department, the division, for them to get set up to see how they're gonna work with these 4 people that they hire and this new unit. So that also may be something that takes time within the GBI.
Yeah, and thank you for that, and I'm sure that it will. Thanks very much.
Other questions? Well, thank you so much. I know how hard it is to work down there, and the last day of the session is grueling, so appreciate you hanging in to the very last gavel to see us through. Thanks for the report. It's very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Johnson noticed that one of the documents still had Mr. Barron's name on it to be approved. Do you want to address that?
So on the East Point, as I was looking back through it with the intergovernmental agreement for East Point, I noticed that Rick's name is still on it, but then also noticed it was March 29th, so I didn't know if that was going to be an issue or not.
We can just strike it and have the interim.
Okay, right.
Okay, so we don't need to take any
Just making sure
action.
we didn't have
You
to
could
do
just make a
anything again.
correction. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We need to adjourn into executive session, and if so, is it personnel matter or litigation? When you make your motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Okay.
Right, weren't we gonna do that?
Yeah, make the motion. I made it. Second. Anybody got a second?
No second.
To discuss a personnel matter. Looked like it's gonna fail for lack of a second. I was going with you. Sorry, okay, I can't second a motion, so, all right, then I think we're ready to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion properly made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. The meeting's adjourned.